Marvel: The Midnight Suns is the newest game developed by Firaxis Studios with the obvious Marvel collaboration. It took me longer than I wanted to go over this, but let's jump right on in. Firaxis is known for making some of the most addictive games out there, such as Civilization and the XCOM games. XCOM is definitely up there in my video game pantheon for one of my favorite tactical role-playing games, so to hear that they were going to be directing this game and piloting it with a Marvel collab had me pretty hyped from the very beginning. This game separates itself from XCOM though by introducing a deck building mechanic into the game, something similar to that you'd see in Slay the Spire or Inscription. I'll dive into this card building stuff a little later on, along with my big red flags later in the video, but first I want to talk about the basics, how it looks and how it feels. Honestly, the game looks okay. It's kind of inconsistent at times. The battle looks super polished and they clearly put all the effort into the battles, which, I mean, that's what you should be doing, because that's the main focal point. It does also drip of Halloween aesthetic, which is something I really love. Outside of battles where you're doing all the other stuff though, it can be a little dodging at times and some of the models just look completely off. I find this is more the case with some of the suited heroes such as Spider-Man and Iron Man. The suits look like high-res models and they look pretty good, but outside, Spider-Man just looks like some generic sim NPC and Iron Man just looks like some low-budget Freddie Mercury cosplayer.
Welcome to Tony's Scary Demon Cave. I'm Tony, and how may I assist you today?
The Abbey where you run around managing your units and everything also has the same issues. Some spots look really good and others just look really generic and drab. I feel like that also describes the Abbey gameplay a little bit. It's sort of like the Crypt from Mortal Kombat. You kind of run around, open chests, doing optional tasks, solving light puzzles, and then they throw in the talking to teammates and gathering resources and all that tactical building stuff. It does, however, feel a little clunky and outdated at times, but it definitely isn't the focal point of the game. It's just an additional nice to have. You do unravel some mysteries about Hunter's past, adding more to the lore, but again, it's just okay. I think it's good for what it is, but it does seem like you could ignore it if you really wanted to, but you would definitely lose out on some interesting abilities as well as items for crafting. With that said, the battle is the main focal point, and that is the part of the game that not only looks the best, but it also captures that essence of Firaxis games, which always leaves you wanting just one more. You create your own custom character named Hunter as the offspring of the villain. They're a little time displaced, but despite that, they're actually kind of aware of things that went on during their death sleep. Like, they can use a computer. The deck building aspect is really what does it for me. Each hero has their own deck, albeit they're only about 8 cards each, and they do limit you with like how many attacks you can have, for example. But they do grow the deck over time and the abilities keep adjusting, and as you grow friendship with these heroes, they gain more unique and individual abilities, and that just adds a very unique thing. In XCOM games classically, the random piece was you having a chance to miss enemies, which never feels good. In this game, you kind of get your hand and you have to say, how am I going to make this work? And that's where the fun of the game really shines. Finding strategies and deck builds to make heroes synergize with each other in different ways is super addicting to me. It's kept me keep on playing even though I've beaten the main story. A quick example of team synergy would be Ghost Rider and Magic. Magic can create portals that she kicks people through, controlling where they fly in the battlefield. And then Ghost Rider can make hellholes that when people fall into them, they insta-die. So by combining these two together, you can Spartan kick someone into a hellhole essentially. The story itself is fine. It's kind of an average Marvel event. It also strangely carries a lot of the same story beats as Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. There's a lot of revolvement around Wanda and Chthon for a big crux of the story. The end does drop a big tease, which honestly has me more excited than the main story itself though. Now there is a light versus dark alignment in the game, however it doesn't seem to do much other than give you abilities and cosmetics, skins, and other passes for Hunter. Also, depending on if you make light or dark decisions, different heroes like that, which I thought was fun. Like Magic loves when you make and pick the dark choices.
I find that hard to believe.
I was hoping there'd be different endings like light and dark ending, but that just doesn't seem to be the case. The relationship building aspects of the game aren't overly offensive either. They have you talk to maybe 3 or so heroes at a time, which is manageable, instead of having to talk to each member every single time. They are fully voice acted, which helps, and you can also just kind of click through fast and get your decision tree.
You can't control everything.
Speaking of decision tree options, sometimes when you pick something, your character really just takes it left field and makes it go hard, and sometimes it ends up actually being pretty funny.
And the Lilin turn your skull into a chamber pot.
Hold up there.
But when the enemy slices our bellies open, we will loop our entrails around their throats.
Wow, Hunter, I thought I was on edge. We should do this again.
One thing that kind of stuck out to me is that Hulk and Banner, while having dialogue and dialogue trees, they don't seem to have a friendship meter, and I'm kind of wondering if all the DLC characters are going to operate in the same way. This game does have some big red flags though. As it was published by 2K, there's a lot of monetization going on. Now while you can still unlock colors and some skins through gameplay, there's a whole cosmetic store, which obviously they keep the good stuff behind, and there's also a whole season pass as well. The season pass is also $50, which is pretty ridiculous to me. You do get 4 characters, Deadpool, Venom, Storm, and Mr. Morbentime himself, Morbius, as well as 32 skins, but the price tag just seems pretty hefty. I mean, that's almost the price of the whole game. Now you do unlock a lot of cosmetics and colors through the crypt, and post-game you do missions to unlock more customization options, so customization isn't completely paywalled. It also does suffer from the same Firaxis bugs that you usually see in their other games, such as enemies just randomly teleporting to locations and sometimes just taking a while to boot up their actions. I also have noticed stuttering and frame drops pretty rarely for me, but I know some people that's a huge deal if it even does it a little bit, so just giving you a heads up on that. I do find the gameplay loop of this game being super addictive and super fun, and I'm willing to overlook some of those visual quirks and slight performance issues. It is just unfortunate that it has such a huge gross monetization scheme going on with it in the background. Also, this game takes a while to get rolling, and as for difficulty, it starts out actually fairly challenging, and as you start getting more and more 3-star ratings, you're able to unlock higher difficulties, and you can definitely feel the difficulty spike. You'll start getting more enemies, they'll have more health, they'll do way more damage, and you'll even start drawing more useless cards called injury cards when your heroes are actually hurt. Also, you can quickly level up your unused heroes by using the threat room. This threat room has you pick the hero that you want to use, and you have to fight waves of enemies all by themselves. And there's tons of enemies, but you do get cards back whenever you kill something, which is pretty unique to this situation. But I was honestly just having fun messing around in here, trying to chain as much as I possibly could together. Also, when you reach max level with a character, you unlock their special challenge, which is kind of like a little unique puzzle with them, and I just thought those were super cool and super fun to do. I do, however, think if you like tactical games, deck building games, and enjoy Marvel in any way, you would really enjoy this. I would highly recommend it. Overall, I really enjoyed this game, and I'm probably going to jump on it every now and then and do random battles periodically. And if they come out with any story DLC, which they teased, I'll most likely check it out. Personally, I'm going to rank this game as an 8.2, and then critically, I'm going to give it a 7.2. My love of cards, tactics, and Marvel really just boosts up my personal score and lets me overlook some of the technical issues and lackluster visuals at times.